Okay. Okay. So I believe that we are live now. So hello, welcome to day 3. Today in our challenge, how to get your kids to listen the first time. Today we're going to be talking all about positive reinforcement and reward systems. It's possibly one of my absolute favorite things to talk about. So if any of you are new to me at this point, my name is Heather Brims. I have a master's in adolescent literacy and technology. I have my doctorate in education, and I am a former high school English teacher and administrator. So I made the leap from education to coaching, and I work mostly with moms and families. So what I did with this challenge is I gathered all of the things that were like the hot button topic for my clients, and I bundled it up all here for you in a 3-day challenge. So today our focus is all about how to positively reinforce our kids and how to use reward systems at home that actually work. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay. Okay. Positive reinforcement and reward systems that actually work, right? So for how many of you, when I say something like reward system, are thinking sticker chart, right? How many times? How many times have we heard that? Seen that example, kindergarten classrooms, happy little stars, right? So a reward system can be that if that's something that works for you and something that you enjoy. If your kids like the stickers or the magnets or whatever, that's awesome. Go that route. But a lot of people don't like the management of that, and it kind of seems cliche and ineffective. So we're going to go through the different ways that you positively reinforce your kids throughout the day, like the different strategies, the different actions you can take, and having a reward system that is going to positively reinforce whenever our kids are making progress towards goals that we set for them. So today is our deep dive into reward systems. Okay. So reward systems lead to good habits, right? So ultimately, when we're setting goals for our kids and we're monitoring their progress and we're rewarding them along the way, the purpose behind that is that we want our kids to be developing these good habits, right? These goals that we set for them now should be ingrained into them so that they don't have to be positively reinforced down the road. It's just who they are, right? So there's a couple things that go into understanding how habits are actually formed. So it takes the average person 7 times of reading, hearing, saying, or doing something before they can do it, hear it, remember it from memory. So before they can do it for themselves. A lot of times when people are talking about how long is it going to take before this is a routine, right? So a lot of times when we start back up at the gym or we start a new exercise, we're thinking to ourselves, how much longer until this is like routine for us, right? Where it's easy for us to get up and get out the door and go. So it's the wrong question to be asking. So instead of it being a time question, it's a question of repetition, right? So how many times throughout the day are we repeating an action and giving our kids a chance to practice one towards one of the goals, right? So the more often that they're repeating the steps you put in place for a routine throughout the day, the better they're going to learn it. And so it's going to become just muscle memory. So for example, what is your morning routine? You get up, you get dressed, brush your teeth, eat breakfast. What is the order that your family does things, right? Do you guys shower in the morning? Do you shower at night? So that morning routine is going to be something where they're repeating and they get positively reinforced as they repeat. So eventually they'll just have a healthy wake up morning routine. So habits are a way that our brain is actually trying to simplify things. So our brain's always trying to learn and absorb as much as possible. So it's looking for ways to condense down what we have to remember. So let's start off simplifying things for our brains, right? So we do this by having things that are visual. We do this by having alarm set and little reminders. Because what you ultimately want to happen is you want to figure out what routines and habits are important for your family so that you can make them goals and start to track that progress and see that integrated in your family. Okay. So the important question is how many times does it take for them to repeat a routine or a pattern in order for it to become habit. So typically, if you have them doing consistent repetitions where they're being positively reinforced, within a month, you can see a total turnaround and a change in the way that your kids show up and complete things that you ask them to do. Okay, so why do rewards matter anyway? So there's a little bit of a divided thought here that our kids should just be helping out in the household. They shouldn't have to be rewarded for that. And then there's the other camp that's like, yay, rewards are great. It gets our kids to do what we're asking them to do. So the difference here, so when we look at, kids should just do things because they're supposed to do them, right? They shouldn't have to be rewarded for that. So the problem with that thought process is that kids learn through what's being modeled to them and what's being reinforced. So by assuming that they should just do it to do it, you're kind of setting yourselves up for failure. It's not a fair set of expectations. So let's look at how our brain actually works and why we need the reward, right? So the first part of learning a new goal, making a new goal, is a cue. So this is what the signal that we get from our brain that we want to automate something. So you want to go walking every day. That's something that you want to work into your routine, right? You want to have dinner on the table by 6 every day. That's what you want to be your routine. So the very first piece of it is making the decision of, okay, that's what I want my goal to be. That is the cue for our brains that, okay, now that we understand this is something we want to do, how can we simplify this? How can we start finding a way to manifest this for ourselves? So then we move into routines. So this is the way that we're going to put into practice what we're striving for. So it can be physical, like going walking. You're going to set an alarm so you remember when to go walking. It could be mental, like it could be like a meditative practice, or it can be emotional, like how you're going to start your morning off to lower your stress. You're going to start your morning off with affirmations and gratitude. So you want to figure out then how often do you want to repeat this action to turn it into a habit. So the first piece of it is the cue, where we're figuring out like, this is our goal. We're letting our brain know this is what we're looking to do. Then we start to take those actions, those routines that are going to allow it to become like that muscle memory, like that second nature for us. And so a reward is the most important part of this cycle. So once you actually move into that action of that routine, you need some sort of a reward so that the next day, your cue, your brain will tell you, oh, this is what we're trying to do. You're going to remember the reward that you got, and it's going to motivate you to get back into that routine. So the reward is basically what kickstarts that cycle over again. Okay, so these are the basic steps to creating a reward system that's going to work in your house. And so now the most important piece, the most important takeaway from today's training is that every single family is going to have a reward system and positive reinforcement in their house that looks differently, because every kid is motivated by something different and all parents have different management styles. So as we're going through this stuff, I want you to be thinking about how you can apply it to your family. And if you have questions, let me know in the comments. When I'm done with the presentation, I'll come back through and answer any questions. But I want you to be thinking as we start to look through the steps of this, how am I going to customize this? How am I going to apply it to my family, right? So the very first thing that is a huge part of the reward system is you have to give a voice and a choice to every family member. So a common misconception of reward systems is that they're for kids, right? Rewards work whether you're 5, 15, or 55, right? Because as you grow up and you grow out of things, you look at it as, what are we gonna do nice for ourselves? But usually we put it on the back burner for so long that things just kind of build up for us as adults. So when you're looking at how do you want to run your family in the future, you want every single family member to making goals for themselves, parents included. So for parents, it may look like, I want to make sure that Johnny gets out for 2 driving lessons a week. Or I want to make sure that we're doing home cooked meals 4 nights a week, whatever's important to you. But so each family member is going to have a hand in setting goals And most importantly, you need to know what motivates them. So everybody's reward is going to look differently based on what it is that they want, right? So the first step is to look at what are the things that we're looking to get out of this? What does our self-care look like? What kind of experiences do we want to have? What kind of physical, materialistic things do we want to have? And then you want to look at all together, what are our goals for the family, right? So individually, what goals do we each want to meet? And then as a family, what do we want our household to look like, sound like, feel like, right? So now as a family, you're sitting down making this cohesive vision of what you guys want to experience at home. And you're setting goals, right? Goals are so important because if we don't have goals set for our household, then we're kind of just running from thing to thing and hoping that everyone understands what the expectations are. So if you're ready to put goals in place for your family, I want to hashtag goals right now, because without goals, we're kind of running from situation to situation. So whether you're live or you're on the replay, same rules apply. Give me a hashtag goals if you're ready to go sit down with your family and figure out what you want your household to look like, sound like, feel like. Okay. And the last piece of it is once you have your individual and your family goals laid out and you know what the rewards are going to be for, progressing through each goal, then it's time to be consistent, right? You know what everybody is striving for. You know what people are going to get along the way. And you know that eventually the goals that you're working towards are going to lead into a family routine that everybody kind of takes a part of. And so it feels good. It's nice and balanced. Everybody has a piece of it. So you want to be consistent. You have the structure in place. Now you just have to follow through. So whatever management you decide on as far as, who's going to visually keep track of what's what, you just have to show up and be consistent in everything and cheer each other on. So when somebody reaches a goal, it's not just like they should be excited for themselves because they're getting whatever, you guys have determined as a reward, but it should also be the family congratulating like, hey, way to step up, team member, celebrate each other along the way. Okay. So you want to, as best as possible, set yourself up for success when you're actually designing your reward system. So really, really important that you want to offer a voice and a choice to every family member. In the very beginning, if you've done no kind of reward system or you haven't really had luck with the way that you implemented it already, in the very beginning, rewards should be frequent and small, but like consistent enough that it's positively reinforcing that this is going to be a system that we're going to stick by, right? A lot of times when you've jumped from thing to thing to try and manage your household and keep everything running, the kids will look at, the next initiative as like, oh, this is the new thing we're doing, right? So a way to break down and get past that kind of an attitude is to be giving them rewards very frequently in the beginning and a lot of verbal positive reinforcement, like this system's here to stay. This is difficult, but when they don't reach a goal, you don't want to punish them. You want to make it like, okay, well, tomorrow's another day because it's a goal for a reason, right? So it's an ask of personal growth. So we can't expect that they're going to hit the mark overnight, right? So it's important not to punish them and instead to reinforce and just be so over the top happy when they hit our goals and meet our expectations. The most important piece about reward systems, why they work and why they're necessary, is that it really helps your parenting state of mind to be in a place where you're being proactive instead of reactive, so that when something happens and you have to give a consequence or change a goal or change a rule, you are responding rather than reacting to what's going on, because you've already thought ahead to what this system is going to look like in your family and what the goals and expectations are for each person. So it's kind of like an ideology that everyone agrees to that you get to fall back on instead of having to start explaining from the ground up why what they did was wrong and the expectations that they didn't meet and the rules that they broke. If you just have the structure in place, everybody already knows what's going to happen. It is super important. We talked about this a lot yesterday as far as you and your partner getting on the same parenting page. When you're putting a reward system into place, you really need to have buy-in from your partner or from your co-parent and to be able to come up with these family goals. Like there's going to be the individual goals, and then there's going to be the family goals. So super important that you guys are deciding like what you want the family to look like all together, so that everybody cares about, you know, the ultimate result and the goal of everything looking and feeling like, you know, the ideal version of your family. Okay, so there's a bunch of ways that you can positively reinforce your kids throughout the day without it being like, you know, a sticker on the chart, or, you know, handing them like a popsicle stick or something like that. So, especially when you're dealing with older kids, right? Let's talk about 15-year-olds, right? They are not looking to get a sticker on a chart. They're not looking for you to hand them a popsicle stick to get to a certain number. They're looking for something, you know, a reward that's a little more age appropriate. So as you move away from all of the tiny behaviors throughout the day for the younger kids and you move into the older kids, there are ways to positively reinforce them throughout the day while letting them build up a different type of reward system with more delayed gratification. Like if you keep your room clean for a week, you get an extra driving lesson. That's like my thing. I don't know. I've got driving on the mind for some reason. You know, or you get an extra half hour on your curfew, whatever the case may be. In the meantime, just letting your kids know they're doing the right thing and positively reinforcing their actions, you know, simple things like just give them compliments, verbally praise them, let them know, like, I love that you got an A on this paper. I know it took you a long time and you worked really hard on it. That's awesome. You could say it in front of other people, like if you have, you know, grandma and grandpa over, like, hey, do you know that Johnny got an A on his test? He worked so hard on it. Simple affection, you know, a hug, pat on the back, high five, anything that celebrates with them and shows that you're proud of them. You can make them your assistant around the house and ask them to do like X, Y, and Z, things that they'll enjoy, you know, like maybe they can be your sous chef for the night. Spending one-on-one quality time as like a positive, like, you've done a great job, I'm so excited, let's spend time together, this was something I thought we could have fun doing, is a really bonding, connective way to positively reinforce your kids. And the last thing is kind of like, it's less verbal and more low key. Like some people don't like kind of like the over the top congratulations, is you can just display good grades or like creative projects somewhere. You can put like, you know, pictures on a refrigerator or a report card on a refrigerator. But you want to make sure that you're giving your kids some positive reinforcement throughout the day in all of these different ways. And there's a million ways you can do it. So the most important piece of this, and it's very, very difficult, is to be consistent in the system that you've customized for your family. Be confident in it and be consistent in it. So a reward system is only as useful as you are consistent, right? So you can have an awesome system put in place where everybody has really high rewards, high motivation things they're working towards. But if you're not consistent and those rewards aren't coming and the progress isn't being shown, the system's not going to work. You have to consistently manage it and make sure that rewards are going out in the way they're supposed to. And also, you know, just the positive reinforcement throughout the day. So you want to make sure that you can be consistent. So part of that means that when you're figuring out how you're going to manage your reward system, you don't want to make it so complex that you can't keep up with it. So if doing something like a tally chart works for you, or you want to just make notes in your phone, it can be a chart on the refrigerator. It could be a Google spreadsheet, especially if your kids are older, where you guys are all able to input stuff. Like there's lots of fun, creative ways that you can gain engagement depending on where your kids are at and what motivates them. So if you're having a hard time conceptualizing like how you would make this work for your family where it wouldn't be a lot of work, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know what your specific concerns are, and I can help you figure out how to apply these concepts to your family and how to construct that system in a way that's going to work for you guys. And the other piece is you want to make sure that everybody understands fully what the expectations are that you guys are setting. So everybody should have an understanding of what the expectations are for each person. So they'll know exactly what the reward is going to be for each thing and what you're working toward, not just for yourselves, but like as a family. Like as a family, we're moving towards this goal where we're all going, the house is going to look, sound, feel like what we all think is like the best way for our family to show up and be. So I have my example here so that, you want to talk a little bit about your why, right? Like, so we're going to be putting the system in place. We're going to be having this intentional conversation. We're going to get all the pieces. We're going to figure out what our goals are going to be, what the progress is going to look like, what the rewards are going to be. And here's why, right? Because your why is going to be really important to how this whole thing is set up. So for example, I really hate being the yelling mom. I want us to be able to get through the day with you guys doing the right thing, listening the first time, and enjoying each other. If we can all stick to the system, we all get to enjoy the best version of each other, right? So as you guys are determining what your goals are going to be, what the rewards are going to look like, and all of those different pieces, that you want to remember and have in your mind, like what your end goal is. Like what is your why for the system, and build it around that being your result, your outcome. Okay, I'm going to stop my share. Okay. So that is all things reward system, but reward systems are really unique. And again, they're different for every family based on how the parents want to manage it, what their household looks like, and what their kids are motivated by. So as you're looking through these different things and hopefully following along and answering the questions in the workbook, let me know if you guys are having any concerns or are confused on how to apply this to your kids and your family. And we can figure out together what is the best way for you guys to implement this stuff. So I'm loving that you guys have been here with me. Today is the third day of our challenge. Tomorrow we will have a guest speaker, Sandra, who's going to talk to us all about mom stress and taking back the day when we have kind of a tough moment, and we're going to take back the day, figure out how to get past our stress. So I'm very grateful that you guys have joined me thus far throughout the challenge. And a lot of you are here because you are tired of the running around, the day-to-day crazy, the waking up in the morning, running from thing to thing to thing to thing, to look back and feel like you've accomplished nothing for the day, right? The constantly having to tell your kids something 100 times instead of once, right? Like, how much time would you save if your kids listened the first time and did what you were asking them to do, right? So I am opening up in a couple of weeks. We'll be starting next week, the Family Freedom Framework, Sustainable Strategies for Stressed Out Parents. And it is a group program where we start with the ideal image of your family that you are looking to achieve. And we walk through the different strategies of putting a structure in place for you and your family that feels good for everyone and that is based on this positive reinforcement. So if you want more details on that program, I will drop in a link for you guys to schedule a call with me. We can hop on a quick, it'll be like 15-20 minute call, and give you some more details on that program. So thank you so much for joining me. We will